can I ask you on your laptops to find tinyurl.com/ppcollector3? Well, we're tinyurl.com ppcollector3.
PP3.
I'm afraid I have to go. So thanks to you back at the branch. See, okay, I have to return my identity. Okay, but I want my PowerPoint.
What was it again, Diana?
Okay. tinyurl.com ppcollector3 /ppcollector3.
So this is the PowerPoint, right?
That's the one. Yes. Okay, so I'm doing a 5-minute intro. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I called this Designing and Reviewing Teaching and Learning Session because this is coming down to a session which might last minutes or hours, could be over days, but it's a self-contained piece, it's not the entire course. And using the Pedagogical Patterns Collector because that is a web-based tool, relatively simple to try and describe in a few words. And I hope that what you'll get by the end of this is a sense of what you can do with it. You'll have the activities of adopting and adapting a pattern and also expressing a design pattern yourself. And then we might have time, I hope, to review and discuss what we might do with this in relation to the MOOC. So the overall intended outcomes from this 40-minute session are that you should feel you can start using the PPC to start designing and exchanging ideas, and you can see the value of the approach. In a sense, I think it follows on rather nicely actually from Rock's session because it's a little bit like sketching, only it's sketching with an online tool in a way that's
I think
illustrative.
your server might be down, sorry.
It just slipped in on here.
We can't get in.
Can't get in.
Yeah, nobody can get in.
Perhaps it's just the wrong.
Maybe it's filtered over the Wi-Fi or something?
Have you managed to get in? How did this go? Just went.
It does get somewhere, but it tells you can't get connected.
So I don't understand how it worked on here and it doesn't work anywhere else. Is that because it's
I don't know,
everyone else is
I'll
using
try to
Wi-Fi?
see.
Or you might have a
Take that port off, I'm not sure.
some sort of firewall protector. So nobody can get in on Wi-Fi. I think we're going to have to do a collective activity.
You get on. You get on. Is that a wired connection?
Yeah, try one.
This is on cable, so I think it probably means there's a.
Well, there are the
To the table, yeah.
laptops that we brought which are connected to cables.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
try that.
Could you try the ones which are cable connected? So it's tinyurl.com ppcollector3. Sorry, /ppcollector3. Are they actually wired in?
Username. You can create any. Oh, you mean for. Oh, you.
There's,
I think that'll be you shy. I'll have to sort that out.
we were all given,
Oh, right. Is that these ones? That's these ones.
we all had those right at the start.
Okay, that's great. Get into it when you actually go into it's the Wi-Fi here.
Oh, you got some.
No,
Connected.
it doesn't work.
How did you control that? This might be taking too much time.
If you do another one, it doesn't work too.
So,
Yeah, that's what
Doesn't
I'm
get
to my remote desktop connection.
Yeah, I haven't used mine.
Like URLs.
Are we meeting the meeting?
Oh, yeah.
What time? She said it's 9:30, but she told my diary. But I've got to see my diary from 1
Yeah,
to
they've built in
3.
ports now.
Okay.
I've got to take the daughter to the doctor's first.
Are you trying to bring down
I've got something that's not.
Yeah, I've got a
we've
catch
taken
up
up,
thing.
yes.
I mean, I'm
Nobody trying to bring down something.
you know, the government. Not really.
Those things will invariably turn up and someone will go, oh, no, can't look.
No. You've been
Wow, that's great.
Could we shift it to later? I just thought.
Oh, you just can't log into the system.
We have an online.
Has anybody managed to get in
Oh,
through a cable?
maybe later weeks they might not ready. What's the elements of the document?
Oh, I can't make the login work, so.
Yeah.
Has anybody managed to get in?
I can get in via my
Yeah, because,
desktop in Oxford, which would suggest that it's
Simon has cancelled the MSc.
Okay.
it's being
Site
very
here
touchy
at
about.
Coxey, but I've not got
I
a plug
wonder
in.
what the
It could be a port.
Yeah, because it's a special
Weird.
Yes, there's a port which gets dropped on Okay, well, I think what we're going to have to do is do this as a collective exercise, unfortunately, I'm afraid. If you can't get on to your own thing, because we can't take much longer. We're already wasting some time. So let's, if you are in, that's great. My laptop gets in, so anybody can use the one which is sitting over there. The point of this is to give teachers a tool for designing and sharing their designs and building on each other's designs. The main point being that teachers need to be able to work as a professional learning community if we're going to get the best out of the technology. We've got to be able to learn from each other and work off each other's best ideas. And it can't be a kind of craft amateur approach that we're using. So having a tool which allows us to find other people's good pedagogic designs and which enables you to articulate the pedagogy in a way that has some kind of formalism in the context of what a machine can understand, so that we can then adopt and adapt and test and prove and share the learning design. So it becomes a kind of engine of innovation, a community which is working together. So to be able to do that, teachers need what I call the shared description of their teaching ideas, not just by topic, here's a good way of teaching climate change or something, but in terms of the pedagogy which they're trying to create to. So the Pedagogical Patterns Collector looks like this. Is this done as a PDF? Is this being PDF'd with no animation in it?
Sorry?
This has lost its animation, hasn't it?
Oh, it's so on
Can I-
SlideShare. Yeah. You wanna try to switch to your laptop? Rebecca? Do you know how to connect Dan's
Well, yeah,
laptop?
just thinking,
Okay,
I just,
look, don't worry. No, it's all right. Don't worry.
Okay.
They don't overlap too much. What this shows is that you've got a pattern which is represented in the form of like a lesson plan. So this builds on the way in which teachers typically set about designing a lesson, where it has a number of different sections. TLA means teaching learning activities, so you have a briefing activity, a planning activity, a collecting data activity, and this is all in relation to a learning outcome, which is defined as being able to relate theoretical knowledge to practice. What we've got here is the particular topic ideas, and what this should be able to show us is that you can switch between different topic ideas and then put your own topic ideas to see how this pattern works in different topic contexts. So if we're going to get teachers sharing, it's important for them to be able to share across topic context and not just think that because it's been designed for chemistry, I can't use it in history. This black text is all the good pedagogical stuff that this teacher has thought up to make this work. Grouping students into small teams, planning data collection of each other's authentic practice, and then they carry out the data collection, and then they analyze and present their best data, and then they reflect on the practice and they share it with each other and so on. So that's a pattern which has been developed and can then be reinstantiated in other areas. Now, once you've decided that this is a reasonable pattern that you want to take on, this is where it gets a little difficult to see because they will come up at once, unfortunately. But you can take the pattern which I was just showing you is this presentation of the teacher's ideas here, and then this is where the students collaborate, so there's some description of what they're doing. Then they do an investigation activity, and each of these is timed for a certain amount of time, which means that, given that they're categorized according to the type of teaching learning activity they are, then the program can work out what's the overall learner experience of this, represented on a pie chart with a different proportion of learning activities which you've designed in. But if you don't like all of the aspects of the pattern you've adopted, then you can change it. So you can decide that I don't want to start with a read, watch, listen activity. I want to start with students investigating something, so I've changed that one. You can link to a particular resource. So under this icon here, you can specify whether this is going to be an e-portfolio or a website or a wiki tool or something like that. You can specify whether the teacher is present or not and how many students, other students the student is working with. So this is groups of 2 in this case, or it might be a class of 14 in other cases. Each time you change something, you can go back and look at what is going on in the pie chart. So the idea is that you should be able to adopt some reasonably good idea that someone's come up with, thinks is beneficial, but also, in taking it on board, adapt it to your own context, and then import other resources like OERs and so on from the external world, and then export it. At the moment you can export it to Word and 1 or 2 other things, but the idea is you should ultimately be able to export it to Moodle. Okay, so the activity then was to have you browse the collection of patterns that there are so far, and then select a particular one. So if I can switch to, so you've got this up.
It's just another tab there.
Oh, it's this one. That one? Or no, it's here. Yeah. Okay, so if I go through what this would have been, we're looking at the browser and going through these different kinds of patterns. This is a generic version of a pattern which is looking at the effects of system input on outputs. This is an evaluating multiple interpretations one. So this is where there's an instantiation of getting students to look at the author of Pergamon, look at 3 different experts' comments on the author of Pergamon from the point of view of its origin, purpose, meaning, and references. So this is the activity which has been designed for that. But by flipping between these, you can see that same pattern in different contexts. So in this context, it comes up in the form of looking at a video of a child from the point of view of a teacher, an educational researcher, and a neuroscientist, and the students are looking at the likely causes of classroom behaviour. So it's the same basic pattern. So the pedagogy transfers, but to different contexts. So if you were to think that you found an interesting one, if I go to the one which was mentioned here, which was understanding authentic practice, that's the one. So this is to relate theoretical knowledge to practice. If I look at the classroom teaching one, we might be sending students out to practice classroom teaching, photograph key situations from the point of view of children's engagement. Looking at veterinary practice, we're looking at how the veterinary student deals with the farmer in talking about the animal's complaint, and that's audio. And this one is a similar kind of thing, but in dental surgery, looking at how the dentist deals with patient care. So this is one where, for example, we could go to the generic version and say, how might we use this in the context of our own course? And for this, I suggested typing in authentic practice, as in MOOC design. And the data collection method we're going to get our students doing is recording a MOOC on
the next field, Diana.
Thank you. Okay, so recording, and as I'm doing it, ruminate. So I can now see how my content is coming out in the context of this particular pattern. And I'm interested in it with respect to giving all students the chance to speak. So now I've got this pattern organized in a way that will enable me to see how it looks from the point of view of the authentic practice I'm trying to get my students engaged in. Is that okay? So everybody see what I did. So then the next phase is to go through to adapt. And the pattern is now set out in terms of these different parts of the process. And here I think we were looking at different aspects of, for example, peer support and scaffolded discussion and things like that. So you might have a series of different kinds of teaching learning activity designed in here, which we then try to use in different parts of the course for those 5 or 10 minute little chunks that we want to divide the course down into. Conceivably we could be doing that. So in looking at this, what I was suggesting we do is add in an activity here, and we can, for example, change this read, watch, listen. So this is the teacher introducing something. Well, we could send them off instead to investigate. So this could be students investigate, resources on. So that's how I've changed the nature of this activity here. So I've got a different pattern up here. What I've suggested we do is improve it by adding an activity where students produce something to submit to each other, or the class, or the teacher comment. So this is something we might add in here after they've been collecting data. We might get them to produce write up reflections on the process they went through, something like that. Reflections on their teaching practice. And to this, the teacher is crossed out, the teacher is no longer there. This is an individual activity, so it's a group size of 1. And I'm going to get them doing that in the context of a blog, let's say. So I put in the title of the blog here and the URL, something over there, and attach it. So that when I go back to that, and it's then printed out, this under here tells me what resources I've already got attached to it. So it's a way, of designing in and modifying what kind of learning activity we're trying to design. Now, what I was also suggesting is that as people are going through that, they might link back to the activity here and add in some comments on how easy or difficult they were finding it to do the activity. So let me just pause there and see if there's any comments or questions on where we've got to so far.
Just want to say, these 3 laptops can run Pattern Collector, so if you don't want to give people a hands-on experience, we can do.
Yes, but only a few people. So, I don't know. I mean, you have the URL. You can check it out.
Diane, are the patterns automatically saved?
No, to save it, you go here. So that's what we're going to do in the final bit. And I was going to suggest saving it onto the desktop. And you would save it as my pattern or something. And then, let's see, do I dare to open it from there? If I can find it. Desktop. Open it, and then come into that same thing, and I've got my same pattern back. So you can save it to your own folder or file or to a shared folder, and then re-import it from there into the pattern set.
Or indeed export it to Word.
You can export it to Word
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, so you can have a Word version of the description. You can also export it into something which will import into the Learning Designer, which is our downloadable tool, which I'm afraid there isn't time to demonstrate in a short presentation.
So I can create a pattern online, download, and then share it with other people, either through email or through my blog or whatever, and then they can rework it.
And they could rework it. They could also, for each bit here, there is a set of a notes page. So this is where you could be annotating each other's things and say, you know, why did you do it this way? Something like that, and have a dialogue going on in the notes page in relation to each particular bit. So if we were trying to do something like look at patterns for collaborative learning, for example, we'd be going through the browser looking for particular ones which focus on collaboration. So this will be familiar to you. Yusha is one there for students collaborating in a particular kind of environment. And getting maybe pairs or maybe groups of students to share ideas for a pattern or to improve on existing patterns or to put their own pattern in. So if you're starting afresh, you start afresh from the blank sheet, add a blank TLA. Here you type in, what we're doing here is sharing ideas. So that's the point of this bit, and then we add whichever learning activities we wish. Have a practice one to begin with, or maybe it makes more sense to have a discussion one to begin with since we're sharing ideas. And you decide how long that's going to be, and then add in another one where you're actually practicing. So this was going to be the final activity then, where we add in a TLA to represent the pyramid technique of discussion. So that's a kind of, it's not so much a learning design as a design that's addressing a particular teaching problem. What you're trying to do with the pyramid technique is to promote participation. Have people got the hand up, by the way? It's just not out on the
I'll give
thing.
it at you, Sha.
So the final bit, I mean, it's a standard technique, and this description is just downloaded straight from the web. The idea is that you get students breaking into, well, first of all, they think about their own idea to begin with, and then share their idea with someone in a pair, and then you have two pairs analyze each other's ideas, and so it snowballs up until it's a plenary. So it's a way of eliciting the ideas from a whole group of students. Even if you've got 5,000 students, you could still do a pyramid, and get them to analyze their ideas, propose a solution, and then come together, combine their solutions, and repeat until you've got 3 solutions. So if you were doing this one, what should we call it? Participation on sharing ideas. And we're going to add, the first thing you do is the individual, this is in a group of 1, outlines a complex problem. No, actually that's the teacher doing that, so the teacher is outlining a complex problem. And then the students break into groups of 2, and they're going to analyze and propose solutions to the problem in a brainstorming session. So they're collaborating on a brainstorm in groups of 2, and then they're going to have 2 groups of 2 come together. So now they're in a group of 4, and they have to discuss their proposals to begin with, and then allow them to prioritize and limit their proposals to top 5. So they've got to collaborate and produce top 5 proposals. And then present it to the class. And that would be, well, that could have got up to groups of 10 students by that time, 10, 16. And this is recording the amount of duration, so we've given 10 minutes to begin with, but we might make it a bit longer for the next stage and a bit longer for the next stage. And then finally, each class presentation is going to take altogether about 30 minutes, so we've built up quite a lot of that kind. So by putting in your own analysis of what you think the activity should look like and then saving it, you can then export that to another member of your team or use it to produce something which you then submit as one of the things that people represent, as a way of representing their design.